A lot of people ask me for the secret to getting rich, and honestly, I tell them the truth, but nobody ever believes me. They want a magic coin or a secret stock tip. But the reality is, as boring as watching paint dry on a cold Tuesday, Michael Burry just updated his portfolio and he is making 5 very specific bets right now. These are not random picks because nothing Burry does ever is this is the man who predicted the 2008 financial crisis when almost nobody else saw it coming. In fact, his writings about it were what led other people to go invest and piggyback off his success. He has an amazing track record of success and a real process behind it. What people do not realize is before he called the great financial crisis, he was an amazing stock picker. Today, I want to show you what he is buying and why it matters. Then we are going to run the numbers ourselves to see if we actually agree with the legend. Let me show you the full list first, and then I want to give you a quick refresher on who Michael Burry is if you are newer to investing. You need to understand why people pay attention when this man makes a move first. We have Microsoft, which is a new position in a beaten-down mega-cap software leader. Then PayPal, which is another new position dedicating a piece of his portfolio to the crushed payment sector. Adobe is next, where he has increased his existing holdings despite the stock falling significantly. MSCI is another one he has increased, and finally Salesforce, which is a target for a future edition 5 moves that are all beaten up and bruised. Burry is clearly betting the market has punished these businesses far more than the fundamental deserves. Now 30 seconds on who this man is because history matters. Michael Burry is the founder of Scion Asset Management. He became a legend for one specific call in the mid-2000s. When every bank said the housing market was fine, Burry studied the actual data and concluded it was going to collapse, and he heavily bet against it in 2008. When the housing market did crash, Burry made over $700 million for his investors. His story became the movie The Big Short, and he ended up being played by Christian Bale. Now, I am not telling you to copy Burry because I will never tell you to copy anybody. Do not buy a stock just because he is buying it or because anyone is, including Warren Buffett or myself. What I want you to understand is the process they use to get there. Look at the actual numbers before you spend a single dollar investing. That is what changes your approach to investing from speculation to actual ownership. So guys, let us get into it and see if these moves make sense based on our process. Burry was also buying GameStop far before the hype happened. He recently exited after the whole GameStop is buying eBay situation, which was wild. If you guys have not seen that incredible interaction on CNBC between Sorsen and Cohen, I cannot stop watching it. I've watched it so many times and I cringe every single time. The math just did not math, and the questions were pretty straightforward. It is. Like, I got sent this yesterday, and I thought it was a joke or no, it was legitimate. And even Becky Quick pointed out how straightforward the numbers should be. So guys, first up is Microsoft. Microsoft makes the software that runs offices around the world like Word, Excel, Teams, and Outlook. It runs Azure, one of the biggest cloud computing platforms on Earth and a major AI infrastructure player. It also owns LinkedIn and Xbox and has deep partnerships with OpenAI. I think their best acquisition ever was LinkedIn, despite all the cringy posts you see on there. Michael Burry has called Microsoft a beaten-down mega-cap software business. They are down significantly from their highs because investors are worried about $80 billion being spent on AI infrastructure. I want to remind everybody that the thought of people being worried about Microsoft was unheard of. Not long ago, that is what has to happen for prices to really sell off and create opportunity. Let us pull up Microsoft in our software and take a quick gander at the metrics. It is a $3 trillion business, which is the actual price of the company, not the ticker price. The ticker price is just the market cap divided by shares outstanding and can be manipulated easily. Revenue is $318 billion. You can see right here. Their free cash flow is a lot lower than net income. If it was not Microsoft, I would be very concerned about this. But we understand that when they invest a lot in capital expenditure, for AI, it hits their free cash flow. If you do not understand that yet, do not worry because it will make sense as you watch more. It is overwhelming at first, but it gets easier. Next is the dividend yield, which is an adorable 0.84%, but that still eats up $26 billion of their money. They have good returns on capital at 19% a year for the last 5 years. Look at this growth rate because their growth in the last 3, 5, and 10 years is actually getting faster. Their profit margin is getting better and better, and they are selling for 9.5 times sales price to sales. Is a great way to compare software businesses and see who is overpriced. Let us pull up their 8 pillars and see the score. I thought it was going to be 6 checks and 2 X marks. For the valuation metrics, does that mean it is overpriced? Not necessarily, because if Microsoft doubles its profit every year for 20 years, you would pay this in 2 seconds. The question is, can a company this large grow that fast? 45 times 5-year free cash flow is a high mountain to climb. What is Burry seeing that we do not see? Because he sees something in these high numbers. Analysts expect earnings per share to almost double in the next 4 years. For a company the size of Microsoft, that would be an incredible feat. Revenue growth is also projected to be in the double digits. This thing is like an aircraft carrier trying to turn, and yet it is just humming along. 14 years ago, a tech CEO told me I was stupid for buying Microsoft because it was a dead company. Just remember that when people tell you a giant is finished, I have gone over quite a few things here today, and it feels overwhelming. But you are not alone. Do you want To get better at this, I made a very simple key metrics PDF that gives you all these definitions for free. Click the link in the description or the first pinned comment to sign up. It explains how they are calculated so we can speak the same language. Now let us go to the stock analyzer tool and put in some assumptions. Let us see if Burry is even in the running. Based on our math, I did a 10-year Anna Lee with 7, 9, and 11% revenue growth that is lower than analysts. But what if AI is just hype that does not pay off as expected? I do not want to invest based on the best case scenario. Only for profit margin and free cash flow margin, I made them the same at 34, 37, and 40. For the multiples, I gave it 2023 and 26 times earnings. That is a lot, but this is a premium business with a massive moat. I set a 9% desired return because if you want less than that, you should just buy an ETF and skip the stress. The stock is currently at $411. I have a low price of $360 and a middle price of $506. Burry might think the revenue growth is higher than I do, which would make it a decent value. Play stock number 2 is PayPal. PayPal is the button. You click at checkout when you shop online, and they also own Venmo. They process over $1 trillion in payments every year across more than 200 markets. The stock is down over 80% from its all-time highs. The pandemic inflated the valuation, and then growth normalized, and the stock plummeted, but the free cash flow is very real, and the user base is enormous. Management has been buying back stock at historical low valuations. Burry is putting 3.5% of his portfolio right here. They just reported earnings and fell 10% because they did not guide high enough for the crowd, but they beat on revenue and they beat on profit. I own PayPal, but do not buy it just because I do. It is a $43 billion business that generated over $5 billion in cash flow. Last year, the price to earnings to growth ratio is under 1, which means you are getting value for the growth. Venmo transactions are up 14% year over year. I believe PayPal is a very safe source for people to buy, especially from overseas markets. Let us check out the 8 pillars for PayPal. It is an 8-pillar thriller with all 8 check marks. They bought back 21% of their shares in the last 5 years. When a stock is selling for 7.5 times free cash flow, they should be buying back every share they can if the business only grows 5%. But they buy back shares. This cheap investors make a crap load of money. People follow the price and say a stock is bad because it is down. That is not true because news usually follows the stock price. It is an emotional game, and I want to make sure you understand that. Let us look at the analyzer for PayPal. Made some very conservative assumptions with 24 and 6% revenue growth. I put the multiples at 13, 15, and 17 because fintech is competitive. The stock is currently at $42, but my middle price is around 90 to 100. That is a huge potential return. If my middle assumptions occur, now let us fly through the last 3 stocks very quickly. Adobe is clearly beaten down from its high of $700. I am being conservative with 36 and 9% revenue growth. My middle price is between $400 and $550. Next is MSCI, which is currently at $581. It sells for 30 times earnings, and I am actually surprised Burry likes this one so much. It has high growth expectations, but my math puts the fair value closer to 470. Maybe he sees a margin improvement that I am missing. Finally, we have Salesforce, which people think AI will ruin. I have a low price of $190 and a middle price of $320. Burry is betting that fear has gone further than the fundamentals deserve great investing. Is rarely comfortable discomfort creates the mispricings that allow value investors to win. Know what you own and know what it is worth. Never buy based on hype, not even hype about Michael Burry. Every dollar you spend on something stupid is a dollar that cannot work for you. Stop being a consumer and start being an owner if you want to see 3 stocks. That could be multi-baggers right now. Click the screen. Stay boring. Stay patient. Peace.